Got to read between the lines. Got to read between the lines. Well, the truth is very simple, very hard to find.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of What's Going On. I'm your host, Tom D'Ambra. As always, we're very thankful you take the time from your busy day to view our program. My friends, to better serve you and bring more information to you, I want to thank a special thanks to Bill and Stanley and also the wonderful crew here at KATV in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, bringing us to another level of technology. And the first thing we're going to do with this, my friends, is we're going to present to you some people who risk their life every single day at their job. They don't get paid millions like the NFL useful idiots, but their work is worth millions and billions to our nation, and also these people understand what the flag represents.
Parts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets glad, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay, my friends, I think the NFL players, the NFL organization, could take a real lesson from them miners. You understand, my friends, them guys, they go down in the hole all day, they dig, they work hard, they don't make an inchling of the money that these spoiled, pompous brats make in the NFL. Oh, and guess what else? Their bonds, your taxpayers through public bonds, don't finance $4.7 billion worth of stadiums either. Okay, enough said with that. Folks, we're going to be really getting Las Vegas, but I want to cover a couple of quick things really quickly. Headline coming out of the library in London is that the U.S. dollar no longer primary oil currency. It has happened, my friends. We reported this to you last week, and now the cogs on the wheels are in motion. Saudi Arabia, Angola, Oman, Sudan, Russia, Venezuela, Iran, and 356 other countries and entities have all signed on to exchanging petroleum products in the yuan. The demise of the petrodollar is at hand, my friends. And you may say, oh, come on, Tom, okay, Saudi Arabia I can be concerned about, Russia I can be concerned about. What about Angola, Oman, Sudan, Venezuela, and Iran? My friends, they are oil or petroleum as a natural gas producing countries. Understand that. Very, very important. Okay, I want to get into a quick story here. The headline, American Free Press, No Justice. I want to be real quick. What basically, my friends, is what's taken place was there is a police officer, Montrell Jackson, who was murdered. He was a black police officer. He was just gunned down by a Black Lives Matter person. And the East Baton Parish, East Baton Rouge, Red Stick, Baton Rouge sheriff's deputy had sued the Black Lives Matter over the allegations of what was taking place here. The Black Lives Matter was, they're all financed by a white guy, George Soros, how they were orchestrated all of these events, how they were giving marching orders to gun down law enforcement officers. That's murder, my friends. That is murder. All on rhetoric, nothing but rhetoric. Anyway, this poor black officer was gunned down And as I said, the East Baton Rouge, they went to police, the sheriff's department went to sue the Black Lives Matter. And what did a black judge by the name of Brian Jackson say? You ready for this? The police had no right to sue the Black Lives Matter because, quote unquote, they are a social movement. So what does that say to Black Lives Matter? You can go out now and murder all the cops you want. You can gun them down and murder them, and all the white people you want, because you don't have no mechanism of grievance or remedy against this organization, because according to this black judge, Judge Brian Jackson, Black Lives Matter now has a free pass for mass murder because you're not able to sue them because they are protected because, quote unquote, they are a social movement. Unbelievable. And you think the court system in this country is made for just us? It's made for, not for just this, it's made for just them, as in just us, and we're not part of the organization. Okay, Las Vegas. More questions than we have answers, even what are we now, 18 days into this mess, right? What we're going to be showing now, my friends, is a report from the health ranger known as Mike Adams. And again, I want to thank Bill, I want to thank Stanley, I want to thank the good crew here at KATV for really working hard and diligently behind the scenes to put this together. But in all of these reports, my friends, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of people now who have come forth about multiple shooters. There's radio logs, multiple shooters. There's video showing multiple shooters in the sense of flashes and so forth. There's reports of shooters at different locations, which we're going to get into. But what Mike Adams has done is he has done a forensic, an audio forensic analysis, and he's about to prove to you through science that there were multiple shooters at this event. Never mind all the eyewitnesses. There's dozens of them. Never mind the police broadcasting over the radio, giving reports of multiple shooters in the venue in various locations. We're about to present to you, my friends, a wonderful study done through science, a audio, forensic, chronological analysis of of audio tape that was taken while the shooting was going on. So again, I want to thank Mike, I want to thank Stanley and the crew for presenting this, having the ability to present this to you. So Bill, why don't we roll with that right now?
All right, welcome to Forensic Acoustic Analysis of the Las Vegas shooting. My name's Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. I am, of course, the Lab Science Director of CWC Labs, as well as an avid long-range target shooter. And so I have kind of a unique position to bring you this analysis. Now, for those of you who are watching from law enforcement or the FBI, I'm going to give you the location of the second shooter. And if you're like, whoa, what second shooter? Just hold on. I'll walk you through it, okay? It's very simple. So this is forensic acoustic analysis. This is all based on downloaded video files from YouTube, extracting acoustic information and then analyzing that to pull out signal from the noise. And this is what I do in my laboratory, CWC Labs, all the time. We use mass spec instrumentation. We're doing, isotopic spread ratio analysis. We're doing organic chemistry. We're doing ICP-MS. All kinds of analysis to pull signals out of noise. So this is the kind of thing I do every day. It just so happens now, it's a shooting situation. Maybe I can help out law enforcement here. I've been critical of the FBI and their lack of transparency about their investigation, but when they said they wanted help from the public, I decided to go ahead and shoot this video to, help them out. Maybe they haven't done this analysis yet. So here we go, let's jump right into it. First of all, let's cover some basic math here. The speed of sound at 20% humidity in Las Vegas temperatures is about 345 meters per second. I'm going to use the metric system here for a lot of this for all the obvious reasons. The speed of a 55 grain .223 Remington round leaving the barrel rifle is approximately 975 meters per second initial velocity. Now, of course, those of us who are long-range shooters, we know that velocity drops off very, very quickly, according to a chart kind of like this. Velocity versus distance. So the farther the bullet flies, it loses velocity according to its ballistics coefficient, or BC, values. Now, this is important to note. This is gonna make a lot of sense. Just hang in there. Bullets arrive first on the scene. If you're standing at ground zero, the bullets arrive and hit the ground before the sound arrives of the bullets being fired from the rifles. Why is that important to understand? Because in our analysis of the audio files, and this is like an audio waveform right here, in our analysis we have to understand that the bullets are hitting first and then the rifle report is happening after that. This is crucial to understand. The bullets, remember, traveling at 975 meters per second. The speed of sound is only 345 meters per second. So the bullets are traveling about 3 times the speed of sound when they leave the rifle barrel. And at these distances that we're talking about, which is typically less than 600 yards, I'll use a non-metric unit for that, the bullets remain supersonic. So they don't pass the transonic barrier and become subsonic velocity. So they never get slower than the speed of sound. Now, flight time is very, very important to understand here. Bullet flight time is how long the bullet takes to arrive at a certain distance. Now, because of the velocity of the bullet is dropping, according to a quadratic equation, the flight time is not a linear function, so you have to have a ballistics chart. I got mine from gundata.org. So the flight time to 400 yards, or roughly 366 meters, is 0.528 seconds for a .223 55 grain round. Fired from a 16.5-inch barrel. Now, that's about half a second, right? 0.528 seconds. We can agree that's about half a second. Now, let me ask you this question. A little homework for you. How long does it take the sound of the rifle shooting to travel that same distance, 366 meters? How long does that take? Well, you know here that the speed of sound is 345 meters per second. So you can instantly tell it's going to take more than 1 second for the sound of the rifle to arrive at the scene where the bullet actually struck the ground. In other words, the bullet strikes in half a second, but the sound arrives another half second later or thereabouts. So there's a gap. There's a difference between the time that the bullet strikes the ground versus the time that the report sound from the rifle reaches that same location. Again, see in blue here, bullets arrive first. This is crucial to our investigation. This is the forensic acoustic analysis that will give us the range of the shooter, as I'll explain. So keep following along here, please. Now, I want you to notice these peaks here. See these 5 peaks? These are the sound waveforms that represent the sounds of bullets striking the pavement. And these are high-frequency sounds. If you listen to all the audio recordings, you'll see that these sound high frequency. They have a lot of high-frequency sound waves in them. These, on the other hand, these are the sound waves of the reports from the rifle in the distance arriving after the bullets have arrived. These reports have a lower frequency sound. That's what these notes are about. High frequency sound spectra associated with the pavement hits, low frequency sound spectra associated with the rifle reports from the distance. In other words, the gunshot sounds from the distance. Now, why is there a difference in the frequency of the sound spectra between these two types of sounds? The answer has to do with the transmission of sound frequencies through the medium of air. And as this chart shows, frequency versus sound transmission is an inverse relationship. So the lower your frequency, in other words, low, dull sounds, have very high transmission over long distances because obviously they involve longer wavelengths. On the other hand, high frequency sounds, such as high-pitched sounds or multiple harmonics of sounds, have very low transmission through air. Why is that? Because they involve very small wavelengths. Small wavelengths suffer what's called attenuation during transmission, which means they get silenced or, sort of muzzled or buffered or killed off or whatever you want to say. They get reduced as it travels through the air. And this is why if you hear gunshots in the distance, they are always low thumping sounds. They're not high frequency sounds. In fact, soldiers throughout the Vietnam War and World War I and II and even modern warfare, they know that you can kind of gauge the distance of gunfire based on the frequency spectra that you're receiving in your ear. You can take a guess at how far that is away. It's not an accurate guess, and we're not relying on that, but I'm just pointing that out to you so you understand the physics. Now, I want you to listen to, I'm going to show you and play you some sounds here. So here's a combination of gunfire hitting the pavement. This is from the Las Vegas shooting. Here's the gunfire hitting the pavement, followed by the rifle reports from the distance. Here's what that sounds like. Now I'm going to play for you just the sound of rifle rounds hitting the pavement. I want you to notice the high frequency sounds in that sound. Here's what that sounds like. Now I want you to hear what it sounds like, the distant rifle reports arriving to your ear or to your recording device from a long ways away. Here's what that sounds like. Notice that it's a more low frequency sound. Now I'm going to play for you a sequence that is indicated by this, where you have a rifle round striking the pavement followed by the low frequency sound effects afterwards. So give this a listen, and then I'll point out something to you about the timing. So did you hear that? Did you hear the rifle rounds hitting the pavement followed by the rifle reports from a distant location? That's very important to recognize, because what you can do is you can get the time code of those events. So you see this blue dot here? This is the time code of the last round of the rifle hitting the pavement. And then this is the time code of the last burst of the rifle report from the distance. You know, the low frequency sound. So again, rifle hitting the pavement here, this time code, rifle report from the distance, this other time code. Notice that the rifle report time code comes after the rifle hitting the pavement, the bullets hitting the pavement time code. What you do is you subtract this time code from that time code and you get a gap. I'm calling it the lag time. This lag time might be expressed in a fraction of a second. It might be 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, what have you. What's important to understand is that this lag time, because of the laws of physics and the speed of sound and the ballistics coefficient velocity of the bullet itself, this lag time tells you the distance of the shooter from your present location. Now, I'm going to say that again because it's crucial to understanding all of this. The lag time tells you the range of your shooter. If you know the lag time and you know the bullets, the rounds that they're shooting, then you can actually calculate the distance of your shooter. And I put together a little spreadsheet here. This was done just using Excel. I just copied it over here. Distance in yards, 100, 200, 300 yards. This is the lag time that you would hear if you look at the acoustic analysis of the audio file. And as you can see, if you hear a lag time of 0.597, that tells you your shooter is 600 yards away. If you have a lag time of 0.311, your shooter is 200 yards away. Now this table is only valid, of course, for .223 Remington. It's very specific to the cartridge. So you can't apply this table to everything, but if any of you out there in law enforcement, if you want this spreadsheet, I'll be happy to send you this Excel spreadsheet, and you can modify it for other cartridges if you want. It's a very simple calculation. So again, the lag time tells you the range. Now, why is that important? Here's why it's important. Because the forensic acoustic analysis of the audio file shows that there are two shooters, not just one. Two shooters. Two shooters, yes, two shooters. Shooter number one has a lag time in the audio file of about 0.559 seconds, which of course is consistent. Well, look at the chart, 0.559 seconds. Where does that show up on the chart? 0.559 is between 400 and 500 yards. See? Here it is. It's about 450 or 425 yards, what have you. What is that? Oh, that's the distance of Mandalay Bay, isn't it? So we know we have one shooter at a distance of 425 to 450, maybe 475 yards at the high end. That's consistent with a shooter at Mandalay Bay. Now, of course, we can't tell the height, what floor they're on from the acoustic analysis, but we can tell the range because of what I just showed you on the other side of this board. So we know, we have confirmation through this acoustic forensic analysis method that there is a shooter at 425 to 450 yards. But we also have another shooter that shows up in this acoustic analysis. This is the bombshell breaking news. Shooter number 2 appears throughout the audio files, and shooter number 2 has a lag time of 0.374 seconds. 0.374 is on this chart, go back here, 0.374 is between here and here, so it's between 200 and 300 yards. So we have a second shooter at between 200 and 300 yards. That second shooter happens to be around 250 yards away from where these recordings are being recorded. Now what's interesting is that this is intermixed in with shooter number 1. So you hear some, if you look at the audio file and you do a very detailed forensic analysis as I have done, shooter number 1, their rounds are there, but shooter number 2, their rounds are also there mixed in. Now you can't hear the difference just with your human ear. Why? Because the time differences are so slight. We're talking about 0.559 seconds versus 0.374 seconds. What is that difference? Like 0.18 something. That is not, like you can't hear 0.18 seconds difference just with the human ear. You have to take the waveforms and you have to plot them in software, and you have to take the time signatures, the time codes, and do the math. And only then can you really tell the distance of the shooter. But that's what I did. And that's why this is called a forensic acoustic analysis, because this is the method, this is how you determine it. And this is based on the laws of physics, the speed of sound in air, and the ballistics of the actual cartridge that was fired. So we know that shooter number 1 in the Mandalay Bay, he doesn't have magical wizard powers. He can't make his bullets arrive more quickly to make them emulate 0.374 seconds, right? Would you agree with that, that Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old retired accountant, isn't Gandalf? Like, he doesn't have magical powers, right? I hope you agree with me on that. So that means these rounds have to have been fired by someone else, because the rounds from Stephen Paddock arrive 0.559 seconds later. The report arrives 0.559 seconds after the rounds arrive, whereas this other shooter, the report arrives 0.374 seconds later. Now, what does this tell you about where the second shooter is located? Take a look at this map. This is a top-down map. This is Mandalay Bay. This is the concert venue, and that's the epicenter right there, kind of ground zero. And this is the Luxor Hotel. This is the Roman Catholic Shrine, and so on. Now, this blue, I'm going to use these blue dots here, this margin, this dotted line sort of circumference here, this is a radius of 250 yards roughly away from ground zero. What it means is our second shooter has to be located in these blue dots in order for the laws of physics to hold true. Make sense? Now, if I were leading this investigation, I would look at what buildings and possible shooting locations intersect with this blue area that's 250 to 260, maybe 270 yards away. And if you do that, you come up with 3 very interesting answers. Number 1, the rooftop of the AM/PM convenience store on the north side of the venue. A shooter could be on that rooftop and could fire due south into the crowd from an elevated position. That's what this screenshot shows you from Google Maps. Second location, Oasis Apartments, the northwest corner building of Oasis Apartments, located on the southeast side of the venue. Could fire to the northwest, also from an elevated position, and hit the crowd. And that's what this 3D view screenshot shows you. Third location, elevated dirt mound in the construction site located south of the concert venue with a very clear unobstructed view to the north from an elevated position. Now, I don't know if there's actually a big dirt mound still there. That's what Google Maps showed me. Maybe it's different now. Maybe there's been more construction there, but at least from what I saw on Google Maps, there was quite an elevated dirt mound there that could make an excellent shooting position from the prone position. So the first question I have for the FBI is, have you gone around to these buildings and have you looked for brass and have you looked for evidence that shots were fired from those positions? And if not, why not? I mean, I'm just a civilian. I'm just a guy, a scientist. I put this together in about 3 hours using no taxpayer money on a Sunday afternoon, just because I found it an intriguing little problem to solve. Why isn't the FBI using this to go look for the second shooter? Now, even better, the FBI can actually pinpoint the location of the second shooter using the following method. FBI can triangulate, and here's how they can do that. All they got to do, I'll use these, all they got to do is go out and find the location of every video that was shot, that was recorded, find those locations, map them on here, and then use the acoustic analysis, get the lag times, compare that to this chart to get the distances of the shooter, draw circles at that radius. On the map here, you draw multiple circles around each video that was taken, and then where those circles intersect, wherever they intersect like this, that's where your shooter is. And there'll be multiple intersections, but you can investigate those, or you might get patterns of overlaid intersections if you map 10 videos or 10 recordings. So the FBI can use this method and this chart to identify almost exactly the location of the second shooter. And I've just basically spelled it out. This is how you do it. This is forensic acoustic analysis. And of course, by the way, I've never had any formal training in forensic acoustic analysis, but it's just math and physics. It's not rocket science here, folks. This is just it's like 10th grade, geometry. In any case, the FBI insists, no, there's only one shooter. There's a shooter only from this position at the Mandalay Bay. And he did all the shooting, and he's the only guy. Don't ask any more questions. Don't worry, there's not a second shooter. That's the official story. YouTube is censoring videos that claim there might be a second shooter. Facebook is censoring. Google's probably going to start censoring. The media is mocking anybody who says there's a second shooter. Well, that's because everyday mainstream media people are mathematically illiterate and firearms illiterate, and they don't understand any of this stuff. So they've never seen this analysis, so you can't trust their views on anything because they have no clue what they're talking about. Most of them have never even shot a gun before. They don't even know that rifles expend brass. Literally, they don't ask questions like, hey, where's all the missing brass in the hotel room? That thought never occurs to them because they don't even know that rifles eject brass. That's how illiterate they are in the media. Nevertheless, for the FBI to be correct, Stephen Paddock would have to be a magical man. And that's why I've listed this. The FBI, the magic gunman theory. Can you see that? Is that even on the screen? The magic gunman theory, promoted by the FBI, supposes that Stephen Paddock fires rounds from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay and then teleports himself, i.e. he's a mutant in the X-Men, to another location 250 yards away, fires rifle rounds from that location, and then he teleports back to the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, shoots himself in the head to be discovered by police. This is the FBI's theory. You would talk about a lunatic conspiracy theory. That's the FBI's official story. It's nonsense, of course. In reality, because we don't believe in teleportation, right? You don't think there are actually X-Men out there who can teleport, do you? Or Stephen Paddock, maybe he's got magic. Maybe he's Gandalf the Wizard and he can change the laws of physics and speed up his rifle report to catch up with the bullets that he fired. You think he can do that? Because for this number to be true, he would have to increase the speed of sound or slow his bullets using, I don't know, matrix powers or whatever. That's nonsense. In truth, in reality, what is really going on is that there are two different shooters at two different locations. Shooter number one is here at Mandalay Bay, which is why there's a 0.559 second gap, lag, between the bullets hitting the pavement and the sound of his rifle. And then there's a second shooter somewhere around here in one of these buildings, probably in Oasis Apartments or on the dirt mound or on the roof of the AM/PM. Or there's even an elevated billboard right here. Maybe he was up on the billboard stand shooting from there. Who knows? Maybe he was in the Roman Catholic shrine. Maybe he was in this empty parking lot over here. But he was within 250 to 275 yards. That shooter was shooting as well. And that shooter has now been erased from reality by the FBI and the mainstream media that wants you to believe the magic gunman theory, the magic lone gunman theory. So I offer this to the FBI in a sense of goodwill. I'm a patriot. I don't want to see my fellow Americans gunned down. I want to catch this bad guy and the others who aided him just as much as you do. I mean, people in the crowd were reporting multiple shooters. The police radios were reporting multiple shooters. There are eyewitnesses. There's a woman that called the Michael Savage show and said, hey, there was somebody on the ground that was moving toward us. You can hear that on michaelsavage.com. There's so many eyewitnesses who were reporting a second shooter that it would be insane to dismiss them all. I mean, I've heard explanations, oh, there's echoes. Well, guess what? This acoustic analysis eliminates just echoes. This is a timing issue. If you believe in the speed of sound and the laws of physics, you have to understand there's a second shooter within 250 to 275 yards away. So this is solid forensic acoustic evidence. And since, I mean, a lot of law enforcement organizations aren't familiar with how to do this, I'm willing to volunteer my time to help them understand this. I'll help the sheriff's office or the Las Vegas PD, or I'll even help the FBI in this case. I'll walk you through this. I'll teach you how to do this. I'll show you the waveforms in the software. I'll show you how to do this analysis if you're really seriously interested. But, don't waste my time. If you're sitting there talking about, oh, there's just one lone gunman and he's a teleporter who can violate the laws of physics, then, I'm not going to waste my time and walk you through this because you're not going to take it seriously. If you really want to catch the shooters, the multiple shooters, and get to the bottom of this, you got to first honor the laws of physics. You got to understand the math. You got to understand ballistics. You got to understand speed of sound. You got to take a closer look at the audio files. The signals are there. It's not just noise. The signals are there. I can show you how to extract those signals out of that noise and get to this conclusion. So that's my goal. That's my aim. I want to catch this bad guy and those who are helping him as much as you do. I want to catch this second shooter. This guy's dead. What about shooter 2? And was there a third shooter or a fourth shooter? We don't know. But I know for sure there is at least a second shooter. We need to find out who that is, right? It's the only way to honor those who were killed here, all the innocent people killed here. You're going to dishonor them and eliminate any possibility of a second shooter because of a political narrative being pushed by the FBI? That dishonors all the wounded and all the dead. We need to get to the bottom of this, and we need to use good science to do this. And speaking of science, by the way, I put this whole thing together in about, I think, 3 hours. This is not that difficult to put together. If I had the resources of an FBI investigations team, I could pinpoint where that shooter is coming from. The FBI has the resources to do this. I'm just one guy. I got this far by myself on a Sunday afternoon. The FBI could take this the rest of the way, and they could nail the actual location of the second shooter if they had the political willingness to do that. So that's my analysis. I offer this in the interest of helping to catch the actual perpetrators of this heinous crime. We want to get to the bottom of this. We want America to be safe again. We want to be able to attend concerts without being shot at. And so we need to look at all the data, as I have done here, and not just dismiss whatever you don't like because you're the FBI and you have a political narrative to pursue. That doesn't fly in America anymore. Sorry, folks, doesn't fly. We citizens, the independent scientists, independent media publishers, firearms enthusiasts on our own, we're not stupid people. We can figure this stuff out. We understand ballistics. We understand math. We can do acoustic analysis. We can look at maps. We can pull all this together. We can do the work of like an entire investigations team in Washington, which is usually highly inefficient, wastes a lot of time and money. But we can do this very quickly because, we're citizens who really are compassionate about this, and we want to use our knowledge and our good science to get to the bottom of this. So that's what this is all about. You can help me in this. Share this video, get it out to as many people as possible. Analyze this. Are there other shooting positions that I missed here? There might be. What else is 250 to 275 yards away from ground zero? You tell me. You might find something that I missed. Is there any evidence of bullets going in a different direction? If he was shooting from the Oasis Apartments, bullets would have been shooting to the northwest. That would have lodged certain bullets in property on the northeast corner of the Luxor. So you would want to look there and see if you could find bullets, not brass, but bullets, expended bullets stuck in things on that corner. That would tell you that a shooter was here at the Oasis Apartments, wouldn't it? So you just got to follow the laws of physics. Or what about, are there bullets found on this construction site here or some of the buildings at this location? Because that would tell you that the shooter might have been shooting from the roof of the AM/PM convenience store, right? So just follow this. I mean, do the math, use logic, use physics. We can get to the bottom of this if we work together. We, the independent media, are the only ones asking real questions about this at this point. The mainstream media, not only are they illiterate when it comes to math and physics and firearms, they're ordered what to say every day. They don't do any actual journalism anymore. They're not investigative journalists. They're puppets and prostitutes for the official narrative. And that official narrative is an absolute lie. So help us conduct this investigation, and check out naturalnews.com and check out shootings.news. Some of the other great websites out there covering this are Gateway Pundit, SGT Report, the Daily Sheeple, and others. A lot of people covering this. So support the independent media, support our analysis, share this video everywhere, and add to it. Let's see what we can find out. Let's see if we can bust apart the fake narrative of the FBI, or maybe help law enforcement find more evidence that they can follow up as leads and get to the actual shooting team that was responsible for this heinous crime. That's all I ask. That's all I want, is to get to the bottom of this. But thank you for watching. Mike Adams here, the Health Ranger, editor of naturalnews.com, as well as publisher of shootings.news. I thank you for your attention. Hope this all makes sense. Take care.
Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. First of all, I enjoy marksmanship very, very much. I am somewhat qualified long-distance shooter. I've never competed at Camp Perry or anything along that line, but just for my love and understanding of firearms, understanding the history behind it, understanding what it means to have them, what nations and don't have them, but just the art of shooting. And there's one thing I want you to understand, my friends. When you're shooting, whether it's an old can or a deer or a person or a clay pigeon, whatever it may be, the motivation is the target. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whether you're plinking, whether you're defending yourself, whether you're hunting, whether you're shooting clay pigeons, whatever, the motivation is the target. So what do we know about the target so far, Las Vegas shooting? We know that this was a makeup of American cultured people. Country, if you want to take the demographics of music, rap is not going to go and sing God Bless America at their shows and get a response from the crowd the way Big and Rich did. So what we have found out with Paddock, and let's just get into some of the confusion that's going on. First of all, we know the police on 5 different occasions have changed the timelines, including some very important ones like when Jesus Campos was shot and not. Okay? We know there has been multiple changes in what the police and the FBI and all the rest have told us. Now we do know, and I listened to this myself, that there was a hot mic pickup 2 days ago when the sheriff came up to speak, and behind him are his handlers, the feds, and behind him you can literally hear them telling the sheriff, don't say too much. And then when it comes to question and answer time, it is asked about, was there a car, to use their words, from the person asking the questions. This would be the mainstream media. Oh, did you hear this one? Alternative media is no longer allowed into the press conferences with the Las Vegas incident. What do you think about that? They didn't like the questions they were getting asked. So only the mainstream media which is a ploy of the bankers, is allowed to ask questions. Everybody else, if you don't have the bankers' credentials to say that we're part of the media, you're not allowed. So what we found out also during this, the sheriff was asked about, was there a car, to use their words, waiting for Paddock for the escape vehicle. And what was the FBI guy say? I shouldn't say he's FBI. It was some kind of Department of Justice. What does he say? Don't go there. So now we find out, as we reported last week, that Jesus Campos disappeared. The hero of Vegas, he just disappears. Well, he comes back 5 days later, to yesterday, supposedly filmed on the Ellen DeGeneres program, I believe it's called. Now, it's supposed to air later on this evening, so we don't know if this actually took place. I did, however, see a photo of this supposed shoot taking place, and with it, there is a man sitting next to Jesus Campos, and he is a building engineer. What does a building engineer have to do with the shooting in Vegas? I think that building engineer, and I have his name written here, my friends, I am sorry, it was Steven something, and I'll get it during the show. But anyway, I think that building engineer was there to guide Mr. Campos. And we also find out something else about Mr. Campos. Mr. Campos shares a Social Security number with a gentleman called Jesus Quintero. And this is reported by Laura Loomer. Think of that. Something like Obama. Obama's Social Security number, Barry Soetoro, was a dead white guy from Connecticut. See, you understand what I'm saying here, folks? Now, maybe Jesus Campos was an illegal alien using an alias. I do not know. I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. The security, he wouldn't have been a security guard, my friends, at MGM, in that security apparatus without being completely vetted. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So how is it that this guy is sharing a Social Security number with a Jesus Quintero? Now, we also know that Padlock's girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley, has 2 Social Security numbers, currently is married to 2 separate men, and currently carries 2 passports. And you're saying to myself, Tom, how can that be? I'll tell you how that can be. She's part of the system. Now, we found out that Paddock also was set up at a rap concert, but according to the Hawk and others, there was a certain daughter from a certain past president who likes rap, likes to put herself twerking on the internet, who was at that venue. See, that makes more sense to me, and I'm going to tell you why. So they canceled that shooting. And I'm going to tell you why, because every city in the country would have erupted. All they had to do was kill a couple of black people, gun them down at that venue, and every city in the country would have went to rioting. It made more sense to me for them to shoot a bunch of black people because they would have got the very predictable response from the black community, which would have been mayhem and rioting. But they went the other way when Obama's daughter was there. They went the other way, and they went to the real target, which was Trump supporters. And now you notice they didn't get that response from the white community that would have got from the black community. And look at, what about Paddock? He's really changed, hasn't he? When he first, it all came out, he didn't drink at all. Never had alcohol. Now we found out he's a lush. He had no interest in guns. Now we find out he's a gun runner. We find out he's a former government contractor through various countries like Lockheed Martin. We find out he moved 27 times as an adult. We went over the tattoo with you that was missing. His girlfriend, 2 Social Security numbers, two marriages, 2 passports. Unbelievable. Multiple shooters, police radios, the Bellagio at 1116, the Tropicana, and others. Planet Hollywood. I mean, folks, it goes on and goes on. Campos is gone. Then he comes back with a building engineer to be there with a name Stephen Schuck, S-C-H-U-C-K. And one thing that always happens with this, my friends, and I know I'm running out of time here, is that every time there is a, like 9/11 or Sandy Hook or anything along this line, they're usually, the cream on the cake for me that this was a false flag is that there's usually some kind of drill going on. There was 2 going on at 9/11 that sent our aircraft north and so forth. Same with Sandy Hook and many others. Well, it turns out, and so I've been waiting for this, and I did some research on this, and I couldn't find it, but then I found it, and this came from a union worker who posted this on the internet, and I read the document myself, and it was basically that there was, listen to this, at the Mandalay, on September 30th at 12 a.m., there was a mandatory active shooter drill. There's the cream on my cake. That's modus operandi for them. We find out that Paddock's brother is linked to a crisis management communication company, works with the government. We find out that Paddock's home had no security. The FBI, oh, we just dropped the ball on this one. We couldn't think to protect Paddock's home because there just might be a chance that there's some evidence in there that would be useful to our investigation. Gee, we didn't think about that. Shame on us. So guess what happens? You got it. Paddock's home was broken into and all the evidence they might have needed, bye-bye. Something like the JFK peppers we reported to you last week that was supposed to come out end of the month. Bye-bye. Unbelievable. Then we have the small Hispanic women who taunted the people in the front rows of the Jason Aldean concert. And when security was taking her out, she starts yelling, "You're all going to die here tonight. You're all going to die here tonight." This is by, I counted 14 witnesses. Unbelievable. There's something I didn't get into, my friends, and I apologize. You see this right here? This is from the Michelle Obama Library. This is who they are teaching to your children. This is a drag queen, my friends. This is a man. This is who's teaching your children. I meant to get into that earlier. I apologize. And let's talk about Mr. Hitler again. Make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. They, my friends, are us. And this beautiful young lady, her name is Kimberly Schomel. She was, past tense, 28 years old. She posted on the internet, on Facebook, I believe it was, I'm not good with that stuff, her entire memory of the event at 9/11. She was down at the bottom venue. And she talks about the multiple shooters from different angles when they ran to different venues to try to get away from the shooting. All her friends agrees with her there was multiple shootings. The day after she posted this, she was found dead. She's 28 years old. She was found dead by her grandmother in her bed. Autopsy, 2 days later, she died of natural causes. I'd like to know what natural causes killed 28-year-olds. So Paddock's home, no security, broken into. Okay? What happens though? Campos' home had security. Don't go in there. Oh, and his security guy's name was Troy Goff, G-O-F-F. I don't have time to get into him. Government ties once again. FBI confiscates all devices. You know, cell phones, Kindles, all these things that kids carry today. Well, everyone carries today except for me. And when everyone got their devices back, everything in the devices, from the FBI, everything was wiped clean. Everything. So far, we have no motive. We have no investigations into all the claims of multiple shooters, even by the police who claimed multiple shooters. Unbelievable. So we have more answers than we do questions. And I am running out of time, my friends. But I find it interesting that Campos is gone. Now he comes back. We find out he has multiple, he shares a Social Security number. We find out we have an active drill. We find out the FBI has confiscated everybody's devices, for lack of a better word, and we find out that, according to everybody, it's all cleaned. And this very attractive, look at the energy in this woman's eyes, now has passed at 28 years old and died of natural causes. My friends, this whole thing stinks. This thing stinks to the high heavens. I don't have the time to get into all the multiple shooting reports by the police, the Bellagio at 1116, the Tropicana, and so forth, Planet Hollywood. And they haven't even brought this up in their press conferences, have they? You would just think that Las Vegas of 2017 was a Las Vegas of the Wild Wild West, because evidently there's mass shootings in every hotel in Las Vegas every night in Las Vegas, because we haven't even brought these other ones up yet. Does this make sense to you, my friends? What you're seeing here is you are seeing the deep state being met by modern technology. Yeah, they control the technology, but they haven't controlled it enough to where the information's not getting out. And I'm sure that's right around the corner. Because, yeah, they wiped everybody's devices, but the information still got out. This young lady right here paid with it dearly with her life. Her husband went to work at 4:30 in the morning. Her grandmother found her dead in her bed at 1:30 in the afternoon, or 12:30 in the afternoon, excuse me. Natural causes, 28 years old. So, understand this, my friends. The deep state is being exposed. Understand that you, right now, are living in times where the United States government is implementing, fomenting, and literally killing American citizens. And they do it through hard kill programs and soft kill programs. What's a good example of the soft kill programs? Vaccines, fluoride, cancer agents in your vaccines, SV40, chemtrails. All good examples of soft kill programs. Hard kill programs, 9/11, warfare. Do you understand? Pay attention to this. They're being exposed for what they are, a bunch of thugs. And if Black Lives Matter, when Black Lives Matter starts to kill more police officers who risk their life every day to protect us, they will not be able to have any recourse against Black Lives Matter, because a black federal judge has stated that they're protected because they're a social movement. You see, my friends, the black judge don't care about the black cop. Race is only used to divide us. The judge is more worried about who he's taking his marching orders from and the ideology that he represents. That's it. You are in the middle of a orchestrated, implemented false flag against the American people and against the Second Amendment. Understand that. My friends, we're very thankful that you take the time from your busy day to watch our program. We always close in asking you to seek truth, to obtain knowledge, manifest kindness to your fellow man, and we always close in reminding you that your government is your responsibility. We thank you for watching.
Can't believe we are all so blind. Can't believe we are all so blind. Well, the truth is very simple, very hard to find.